Okay, what's up, guys? I'm back. Computer crashed earlier. It's that USB like blue screen. It says it's related to a USB. I had like a USB splitter plugged in, and I had been going through each of my USB devices trying to like pinpoint which one has been giving it to me because it's like very intermittent, doesn't happen much, and I think I might have figured out which one. I don't know. If we get another crash, a blue screen, then I know I didn't figure it out. But anyway, uh, let's jump back in, try to get some coding done. Uh, went to the gym and ate. So let's try to work on this here. Alright. So we have, what time is it? 1:54. So 1:54 to okay, so we were in the middle of a few different little things whenever it crashed. So I did test it and I verified that it was working. So that's not like in general, it's the script is running. It doesn't crash or anything. So we made a change to progression where we moved that function outside of another function. So now it's defined in the global scope, this one right here. Um, so what we're doing next is I noticed that the waiting other player bug, that data never got sent. I never saw that it was logged. Um, so I'm gonna do another playthrough. I want to just see what happens. So we're gonna crank up the server and the clients. Okay, cool. Looks like, well, I mean, it's not cool, but it looks like we hit that intermittent bug again. So it's showing waiting for the other player to join, but obviously they're both connected, um, but it's not going to the draw one section. So I'm gonna kill the script and let's see what our output is here. So we did Control C to kill the server script, which inadvertently kills the two client scripts because they get a connection reset error, which terminates the script. Um, so we entered into the draw one. We made it all the way to the draw one on the server side, but then we hit an exception, but that was our keyboard interrupt, and this was at line 83. And we gave it plenty enough time, and we did verify that the send um, and I know they're towards the end because I just looked these up. So let's see, the send section is right here. This is where we would send this data to the current client. Um, so this actually should be handled via the so whenever we change the game state, let me just look at this logic and make sure. that like we didn't fudge anything up here as far as the data transfer goes, because I know we did modify some of this. I don't think this would be the issue though, but I'm gonna check anyway. So let's look at the start of the send section. Prelim section ren equals false. Well, first of all, progression is gonna set, because it went to line 82's while loop, which is right here, 83, and that is after this line right here, which sets P1 game and P2's game, P2 game's game state attribute to the draw 1, and that should have been picked up by the game state setter. So let's just look. Let's do def game state. Let's try this again. Def game state, and let's go to the setter. And what we have here is whenever we set it, if the type of val is equal to tuple, which means it was changed from dir check, which in this case it would not be. Let's put these quotations around that. So it would fall under the else. It would enter into this clause, and then it would run the data transfer function, passing in the self ID of the game, which in this case would be each respective game ID, because we called, well, say current game.game state for current game and P1 game, P2 game. So this would set P1 game's game state to the draw 2, and that would go to P1 game, and then it would pass in P1 game self ID, which is 1, okay? Then it would pass in the game object itself, the object, and then it would assign the cal to equal to game state and val. And maybe that's the issue here, because as you can see on the client side, we did not receive anything. Why do we not have, hold on, let me see something, because I feel like on the client side we're not receiving what we're supposed to, or logging rather. Either we are receiving it and we're not logging it, or we're not receiving it at all. Okay, receive data. What is this? So this is the start of the receive section. Okay, so this is what we want. We want to log whatever we receive. So we should, it is enabled. We have client receive, sender ID, send ID, receive change attribute list, and we're not showing that we received anything. If type of the core data is equal to list, okay. So yeah, we have if ready. If ready, so that means if we have anything ready to be received, we should enter into this section. And let's see, current client dot receive data and receive, okay. Current client ID is equal to 1. Da 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 da. We have if type of core data is equal to list. Okay, and the core data is assigned up here. Yeah, we know all this works. I mean, we've been dealing with this for a long time, so I'm pretty confident in this system. So the log is enabled, but we didn't get any log. The only log that we got was the send change attribute list. Now maybe it's not printing them out because it's not. Hold up. No, we have the accept, so it logged the try accept here, and then it should print out everything in the log list because we do have custom logger set to log. And if we didn't, then it would print in live time anyway. So either way, if it was sent or received rather, it would have been logged, and it's not. And since we're not logging it as sent on the sending side and we're not logging it as received on the receiving side, it seems to me most likely that it's just not getting sent. So that's going to be our focus here. We're going to assume that it is not being sent. And I'm just going to put this in our notes so that we know this. And this is going to be the waiting other player bug. We're going to put this to the top because I think this is what we're going to continue to focus on. Since it seems to be popping up frequently, let's get this out of here. Malware bytes in Discord. Okay. And then I'll just put verified, not being sent, nor received. Not being logged as sent, nor received. So again, we'll go back over here. We verified the logs are enabled. Now we're going to look at the setter and we're going to follow the chain of events, which we were doing. So we have the data transfer function, which gets called. It passes in what seems to be the correct args. The only thing I could think of right here is maybe game state. I'm thinking maybe it has something to do with that attribute name. So it looks like we have that attribute name in the time tube. But you know, since this is intermittent, like this only happens sometimes. So I'm wondering, like, why does this only happen every now and then? That seems to suggest to me that maybe like the I don't know, like the data is maybe getting added and then filtered out. But I don't know why that would be the case. I can't think of a reason that would happen. It just doesn't. Nothing jumps out at me. Okay. Okay, now we have this section in receive for dir check. It's where we receive the data on the, well, this is executed both server and client side, this function. So this section handles game state, and I know that sometimes game state does get transferred because sometimes it works. So I don't see why this would be the problem. So it goes here, it says if eval object time underscore plus adder name string is greater than receive timestamp, apply data equals false. Okay. Now, but I don't think this is going to be the issue either because it's not even sending it. It's not sending it. So let's be precise here. So it seems to be that it gets to this line, it runs this line, which in turn would run P1 games game state setter, which would go here. It would enter into this else clause, and then it would run this data transfer function. So we have data transfer function, and if we go to, let's see, data transfer function is in, well, we already looked at that, but I'll just look at it again. So we're going to change attribute list, and data transfer function takes in cal object int, the game object, the cal toop. It gets the global of these, and then it says, let's see what it does next. Current time, adder name string equals caltube at 1, and that game state, which you see right here, and it's game state. Okay, moving on. Cal object in is equal to 1. Cal object equals C1 change attribute list. Okay, so in this case it would be SS. If cal object in is equal to 1, it would be, we get the C1 cal lock, which is the lock for the C1 change attribute list. And I wonder if it could be something to do with the, no, because this existed before the locks. So I do want to put a note about that. This existed, considered issue being related to locks, but this issue existed well before locks. True. Okay, so now let's keep going here. If adder name is not in transferred game adders, so it would be in transferred game adders, so it would actually enter into this else right here, which would increment the C1 to C1 apply counter, and then it would go here, it would create the cal tube, and then it would call the cal lock list function, since SS is what it would equal, passing in cal object a cal toop and the lock, and the cal object is assigned right there. Okay, and then the cal toop is gonna be the, where is it? Well, the cal toop is where we create right there above it, and then we pass in the lock, and in this case the lock would be the C1 cal lock, which is the lock that is used for the C1 change attribute list, because we don't want multiple places modifying it at the same time. Um, and then all it does is append the data to the list, and that would be the cal object, which is the change attribute list. So that should work. Like, that's the correct code. So what I want to do here, I already have this test section right here, and what we're gonna do is we'll enable this log, and we're gonna see, we're gonna keep running the script till we replicate this issue, and then we're gonna see if we can get it to print out that it's at least populating into the change attribute list. Because what's happening here is either it's not getting appended to the change attribute list, which means it's not being sent because it's not in it, and that's what gets sent. It's like having an empty package, sending an empty package. If the package is empty, we just don't send anything. Or it's sending, or rather it is getting put in the list, but it's not getting sent for whatever reason. So this will let us know if it is in that list. So then we can move to the next step. Let's try this again. See if we can replicate it. I'm just gonna have to keep doing this until it replicates the issue. Just keep doing it. What is your name? So yeah, we're just gonna have to keep doing this over and over again. It's funny, it's not gonna want to do it now that I'm trying to make it happen, you know? It's gonna work fine when I'm Oh, you know what I actually want to do here is why would this get called but have an empty list? That doesn't make sense. Why would that happen? Why would Virtual Studio Code? That's weird. I've never had that happen. I've never had VS